You already you usually reserve the Hilchot Shabbat for Shabbat itself, but I want to share with you an interesting halacha which perhaps is not so commonly known, not so much relating to what we're discussing recently about Bishul b'Shabbat, but rather something comes along sometimes with Bishul, which is straining or separating Borer or Miraked, separating, sifting on Shabbat when it comes to preparing tea. I'm still trying to get a feel for how many people actually make tea with tea leaves straight. But assuming there are people that actually do make tea leaves on Shabbat, so tea leaves straight into the thing, into the teapot, into the cup. Okay, fine. Into the teapot is really more the question. But it also applies to tea bags. Is a person allowed to remove the tea bag, bichlal, from the cup that he's drinking on Shabbat, or do we consider it, since there is water separating out of the tea bag, or is that considered borer or miraked, sifting on Shabbat? So there is a machloket about this in the contemporary poskim. Certainly the position of the Minchat Yitzchak, Dayan Weiss of Edah Haredit in Yerushalayim, is that a person is not allowed to remove the tea bag straight. Instead, he would have to remove it with the spoon, preventing anything from dripping out of the tea bag directly back into the cup. However, according to Rav Avichai and the other Svardik poskim, a tea bag may be removed directly from the cup on Shabbat, and that is because the tea leaves which are contained in the bag are not considered mixed in with the liquid. And the halacha is that borer is only considered separating if it's a productive act. But let's say Maran brings down, you have clear liquid. A person is allowed to put clear liquid through a strainer on Shabbat, because anyway most people would drink, and this is the standard that we go by, most people would drink that liquid as is, even without the straining. And therefore the additional benefit which is provided by straining it through this strainer is not considered anything really beneficial. And Hilchot Shabbat, usually the standard of melacha is, it has to be something which greatly improves the item that I'm dealing with. Over here, there's not much of an improvement whatsoever, because, like we said, the clear liquid is anyway drinkable, potable for most people as it is. So therefore, the same thing applies to the tea. The tea bags are considered, the tea leaves are considered almost like separate from the tea. And since the tea itself is a clear liquid, any additional straining that it goes through is not considered beneficial to be rendered a melacha. Another interesting point which comes up in regards to straining and tea on Shabbat is if a person does use tea leaves in, let's say, the teapot itself. So you're going to have the tea leaves separating onto the bottom, and some teapots are equipped with some sort of straining device at the opening. Is that a problem on Shabbat? Because in this case, certainly, although the liquid tea might be clear, but the tea leaves, most people, according to some poskim, will not want floating around their drinks. However, according to Chacham Ovadia, interesting, he brings that in the Chazon Ovadia and in other Sfarim, then the tea leaves are not considered psolet at all. They're not considered waste material. And therefore, a person would be allowed to even pour tea from a teapot where the tea leaves are separated on the bottom, even if you're preventing the tea leaves from coming out using a straining device, because again, Chacham Ovadia considers that the tea leaves are not considered a waste, and therefore the liquid is considered drinkable to most people as is. Only for people that are extra particular would they specifically insist that the tea be completely clear of any leaves. And we don't go by that standard. The standard is if most people would drink the liquid as is, then any additional enhanced straining is not considered a melacha on Shabbat, and therefore a person would be allowed to pour the tea leaves freely from the teapot and leaving back only the tea leaves, which brings us to a different question, which is not for now, is if the tea leaves were not prepared properly before Shabbat and you left with only tea leaves on the bottom, how could you rejuvenate those leaves on Shabbat? That would not be a violation of Menachet Bishul, pouring over them either from Kedishon or other things, but again, that's not for now. This is just relating to using a straining device on Shabbat when it comes to tea. A person should always make sure that what he's doing follows halacha, but these two cases, according to Tzaddik poskim, are mutar. Removing a tea bag directly from your cup, or if you have tea leaves loose flying on the bottom of your teapot, one would be allowed to pour out even though they're being held back by a straining device.